Hey, how you doing?
Very good. Well, let's talk about that track that we've just listened to. I mean, I remember playing that a lot on the radio
Yeah.
back in the day when that first came out. I remember just almost one of the first times I heard it. What is this? It's just because it was such a big, anthemic, layered piece of music. Talk us back to the process of putting that song together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a song that completely changed our lives and, set us off with the amazing privilege of getting to tour all over, all over the UK, all over the continent and all over the world. We've been so lucky, but it's kind of mad to hear it again, because we sound really young, but also it's a song that's about, it was made initially on my laptop in my bedroom. And I guess our music was all about kind of escapism. We were like post-uni doing loads of jobs and imagining the songs as these big escapist like films in our minds. So the layering kind of came from necessity. It was me in a bedroom trying to make things sound big and take me and take us to like other places in our heads. So that's kind of where and yeah, I think probably like you said, what really stood out was it was like it sort of sounded like nothing else at the time.
Yeah.
And it's quite weird. I mean, it's a song that draws a comparison between like stasis and boredom in your life and the idea of these volcano victims in Pompeii, who are stuck in the same position forever. So it's kind of a mad, absurd song, but we've had so much luck in being able to play it all over, and it's always so much fun to see how excited people get when that song begins. So
you said you said just at the start of that was the song that changed everything for you. Do you remember the moment when you went, oh, I think this is actually happening?
Yeah, I do. I mean, for that whole lead up to our first album, every song we put out got a bit bigger, and it was, things were so surreal. Even having a song played once on the radio, felt like such a huge deal and not something we ever really like let ourselves imagine. So I guess whilst probably to a lot of people it seemed really overnight, to us we've been sort of slowly working up from pubs to bars to clubs to like theatres to venues like that. But yeah, I mean there are so many moments. I think hearing it in public for the first time, being recognised, all of those things are so surreal. And, I guess not what you think about, but we were touring, like, we were very kind of grassroots band. We, with DIY, sort of did it all ourselves. Done so many tours where we've been like sleeping on friends' floors, strangers' floors, so I guess we feel like super appreciative of every step. And now kind of 15 years later, it's totally surreal and so exciting to get to go back out and do this tour again. We can't wait.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you're feeling about that, and I'm assuming you're not going to be sleeping on any pals' floors on this one.
Yeah, we'll see. I was at the Fringe for a week and very much sleeping on floors like earlier this summer. So I'm excited to maybe even allow myself a bed in a hotel room or a bunk in a tour bus.
I hope your mates didn't charge you too much at the festival. So tell me, what's it like going back 15 years? I mean, 15 years is as good a reason as any to get back out and celebrate what's happened to you as a band. But what's that process been like of, as opposed to just taking one album out on the road, but this is a kind of a celebration of everything that you've done?
Yeah, it is. And I think, historically, the kind of way we've done things is you make an album, you release it, you then tour it, and you're excited by it. So you want to play as much as possible. And as you go through, a career, which we're very fortunate to have had so far, you want to play this new album you've made because you're excited about it. But maybe if you're going to a gig, you want to, hear all your favourites. So I guess what's been really nice, we had a bit of a break. We've all been off kind of doing lots of different things. And I guess this year and last year, we've just been excited to get back in rooms together, to hang out, like to have a laugh and go through the songs. It's quite surreal. We're not a band that looks back very much. So it's been quite surreal kind of basically sitting in a room having to look at each other while we listen to all the albums and thought what's going to make for the best tour for, for new fans, for old fans, for us, as musicians. How can we do this tour that's like a complete pick and mix of anything and everything we've done? We've done all of our albums, we've done mixtapes, we've done MTV Unplugged, we've done, we've been so fortunate to do, film soundtracks and scores and stuff for BBC Planet Earth and all these different things. And how can we kind of nod to the covers, the live lounges, like everything? How can we, look back, relearn it all? That's been a big challenge as well. And musicians wise, it's been quite fun just to dig back in. There's whole songs and chunks of albums that we haven't played in a while and I sort of forgot existed. So it's been a really nice and quite rare, I guess, trip down memory lane for us. But yeah, I guess it's been It's been awesome. It's been so nice to see like all the crew we've worked with forever and the guys, and to sort of play these songs, sit in rooms, and it's, you know, it doesn't we don't take it for granted that we're allowed to play rooms like this, you know, this far into our lives. So it's exciting.
The OVO is quite a room.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, I've been to so many shows there, but we've not played there in a long time. So we're very, very excited, and we're trying to put together a show that's going to be, you know, for people that sort of love our music, it's really rewarding. But, you know, for people who know the odd song here and there, something that will hopefully be really exciting and fun as well. So yeah, we're excited.
We're talking on the show today about the internet and the impact that it's had on our lives. We're talking about specifically about our earliest, you know, recollections of using the internet. And obviously one of the big aspects that what internet has done for us is music. And this must be something that you resonate. And although as a band, obviously, 15 years is not as long as the internet's been around. But even in that time, I'm quite sure you'll have seen just huge changes, how you put your music in and your different approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's when we first released an album, you know, years ago, it was vinyl was sort of coming back. And I remember, I think ours was the first #1 album to have equal splits between downloads and CD sales, and obviously, and then the idea of even downloads is antiquated now. You know, so as a band, we've seen, as so many artists have, the massive shift, and also, you know, how we digest music, it going from being a physical thing to a sort of a file on your computer to having an app that gives you access to all the music ever, and also the sort of, I guess, an interesting thing for us as well is like I'm an insomniac, so I listen to a lot of like podcasts and audiobooks and stuff, and seeing the just music now competing with podcasts and with so much other stuff in that space. But also my whole relationship with social media personally has been via the band. Like I didn't really use it until we started the band. So we've seen that shift as well, and the kind of algorithms coming in. Like I remember a point at the beginning where on Facebook, for example, all the people on Facebook who chose to follow us would see everything we posted. And that's been, I think, one of the most interesting things is seeing the internet and social media become monetized, and therefore your access to people being kind of restricted. So that's, you know, there's so many things that we've learned. And I think, you know, when it comes to music, I think everyone should have access to music and everyone should have the opportunity to make it. So for me, technology existing that allows literally anyone to make tunes or to write or express themselves, I think that's incredible. But it also means that there's now so much music out there. So, you know, on streaming platforms, there's just, you know, it's like a vast ocean. And it could mean that putting music out can feel, you know, like you're sort of just throwing something into the sea. But I think, you know, I think it's important that people get to, you know, there's access for loads of people. So yeah, for us as a band, I think we've sort of had an interesting sort of insight into all these different ways of doing it. But I think what it does mean is people are discovering songs that they may have not heard at the time, or stuff from, you know, the fact that someone like Kate Bush is the biggest song of the year in 2024 or 2025. That's amazing. Like Murder on the Dance Floor, you know, you never know where it'll come from and what it'll be. And I think what's exciting now is there's like generations of people who are just, they're excited about how they heard a song and where they heard it, not like if it's the newest thing or the coolest thing as well. Like, I love that. I think it's sort of freed up the shackles of gatekeepers, and there's now, I think there's sort of individualism in a really great way. Sorry for the ramble.
No, because it's one of those subjects, and especially in the world of music and what it has done and how it's changed. And you talk about, you know, you made that first track on your laptop in your bedroom, and you know that's a skill in itself. But then you also then have to adopt and learn about what the internet does, and you have to as a band, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, it's been really interesting, I think, for music. The fact that most of us, you know, no matter what generation you're from, kind of absorb a lot of the world, the outside world, through our phones in quite short, clipped up things. You know, it's and that means that like so much of life is reduced to a soundbite. But the same goes for music. You know, you might be like, I love that song, but you've only ever heard like half the chorus because that's the bit you keep getting served. So it's been interesting seeing, like, I think with music, bringing it back to that, music's always kind of morphed and adapted to sort of like play to the mediums that exist at the time, you know, that going back to records and why albums are albums and all of that stuff, you know, because this is what we have to create with. So we'll be as creative as we can within that palette. And I think, you know, I'm sure streaming and social media and TikTok and Instagram and have had such a massive effect on music. But I think what's always really fun and inspiring to see is how people that want to make stuff will still find ways to be creative in and around that. But yeah, it's also, I guess it also makes me think loads about how lucky we are to be a band that get to tour. And whilst the internet was a big part in us kind of getting our music out there at the beginning, we always kind of like coupled it with touring, with, getting in a van and driving around the country and getting to play in rooms to real people. And I think, we've been so fortunate to be able to travel, way more around the world and to different countries, and and to see even like the UK in been able to otherwise. So yeah, I guess that's why we're kind of, it could be easy to fall down a bit of a rabbit hole online, right? But I think that's why we're excited to get to, reconnect with loads of people, and I guess it's a weird thing to say, but we've been around long enough now that there's like people who loved our first album when they were like 8 years old. They're now like a bit older, and it's been so interesting to just see kind of like generation with our music and what it means to people. It's a real privilege.
Well, one thing that we've learned about the internet, it's never always totally reliable. Had a wee sound glitch through your last question. But listen, Dan, a real treat to chat to you. Thanks so much, and I bet you can't wait to get up to Glasgow and get playing at the Oval.
Yeah, so excited to head back to Glasgow, and so excited for the tour. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dan, thanks very much indeed. Dan Smith, what a treat to have him on the show.